So welcome everyone. Welcome to the fifth day of Traversing Attachment. Before we start the session, let's just step back for a moment into a silent space. Yeah? So very warm greetings to you all. Now, love and attachment exist and get their sustenance from completely different polarities. But in everyday life, they're hopelessly mixed up together. So often, attachment, particularly emotional attachment, masquerades as love. The effect of all attachment, as we all know, is universal. It is one of suffocation. So attachment suffocates and distorts all love. There can be no delight or ananda in attachment because it taints the love. So what we have to do is purify our love and rediscover its true essence. But how do we do this? How do we remove the attachment from love? This will be the subject of Dr. Monica Gelati's session, which is titled Purifying. So before I hand over, I'd just like to say a few words about the Hope, the Journal of Integral Health. Because NAMAH isn't just engaged in running workshops, courses and programs. It's a long-standing and insightful publication available in print or as an e-journal. NAMAH is the Journal of Integral Health. It looks at the influence of the soul or the spirit in man's search for health and well-being. It examines man's physical and mental health in an integral way. It looks at it in terms of its growth and spiritual progress, as everything is always interlinked. It looks at individual and social health from the perspective of the evolutionary process. So it's a vast field, and the range of material we publish is very, very diverse. But the one common feature behind it all is the influence of the soul on our health and its influence on the rest of our being. So NAMAH is published quarterly and available online for subscription in either format, print or e-journal. So I definitely recommend you take a look and give it a try. The website address is found in our brochure, I believe. So our facilitator today is Dr. Monica Gelati. Now, the first thing that struck me on meeting Monica some years back was her confidence. This is not arrogance, but a confidence born from her love for the divine. It may seem paradoxical, but it's a confidence also born from an innate humility. She has overcome all sorts of adversities to get to where she is today. She has overcome cancer by accepting it as a blessing. For her now, illness doesn't really matter. We're always happy to work with Monica because she reflects the warrior spirit which is so essential on our path. She's an editor and writes regular contributions to our journal NAMAH, which I've just described, and very much engaged in facilitating dynamic sessions, mostly online, either for NAMAH or through her own platform. So I'm sure you'll all benefit from this session, and I'll hand you over now to her. Hope you enjoy the session.
Thank you so much, James, and thank you everyone for joining in today. I think it's really good to see, very happy to see that so many of us are interested in understanding attachment and understanding love. So it's really good to see that we are reflecting over these things.
Monica, your voice is your voice is a little bit fuzzy.
Fuzzy. Okay, just
a little bit fuzzy.
Yeah. Any change right now?
Yes. Yes.
Better?
Much better. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I thought I'll use just for the beginning itself, I'll try to use that whiteboard thing that we have when we use the share screen, just for fun. Okay, so I thought maybe it will be nice to use this visual of just initially talking about, I'm sure all of us have heard many good speakers so far, so we may have already our own and what we understand from all those sessions, but I thought just to give us a visual, I'll just try my drawing skills here on the whiteboard. So imagine that this is our being. It's like a earthen pot in India that we have, in which we can keep water, and everything that falls in it, it's very sticky. It sticks. So some words, some memory, some situation, some past, some future events. So it's sticky. The pot is very sticky in nature, and if you can see, it doesn't look very good. Looks very spoiled. Like so much of all the muck can just stick from anywhere. And this is what happens to us, and that's what we inherently don't like. We don't like this stickiness, and that's why we are now reflecting over, okay, how to get rid of attachment. Because when we are sticky and everything sticks to us, my thoughts stick to me, my feelings are so tightly clinging onto me, it's my feeling, my desires, what do I think about that other person? So my judgments are sticky in nature. And when everything is very sticky, we are sticky to people in our lives, we are sticky to situations, money, name, fame, power, respect. Everything is like, because the whole being is sticky, everything sticks to it. So what is, in just one of the ways in order to understand how we go about this in integral yoga. So when we offer ourselves to the divine in any form that resonates with us, as if we are, I'm just making another boundary here. Yeah. Okay. Still a bit fuzzy. Okay. I don't know what to do about it. Okay, let me see. I can again change the, or maybe I'll just change the headphones. Yes, any better, James?
Much better.
Better? Okay.
Much better.
So we can do with this.
Yeah, so when we turn ourselves to the divine, when we want to turn ourselves to the divine, why? Because life hurts, it is painful, it is suffering. In the beginning, we do come to the divine because of that pain and suffering, I think most of us. So what happens is that when we turn all our consciousness to the divine, as if we are forming a non-sticky coating on this being. So this coating that I made right now for all of us here, so it's like as if, oh, it's not very nice, but anyway, I think you get what I mean. So it's like a non-sticky coating that is now is formed, and we can use either the word, ma, which resonates with many of us here on the path, and as if this coating of the divine name makes my being non-sticky. So everything that falls on the being, the only thing that the being remembers is ma, 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 the mother's name here on a path of integral yoga. And that makes us non-sticky, because then we don't indulge in whatever is thrown at us through all the sense stimuli. So that was just in short to kind of the essence of it, that how do we move from stickiness to non-stickiness. Why? Because stickiness hurts, and we see that we just go on revolving around, entangled in dots and threads which we are never able to resolve. So if we want to make the being sticky, and if we want to love in our life non-stickily, then without giving ourselves to the divine, I don't know of a way it can happen. Maybe somebody else may know. I can't see so far it happening. So that is where we start from today, just the crux, the essence of the matter, that we are trying to make ourselves non-sticky. And I thought I'll just make use of 6 points that I'm going to share with all of us today. The first step on the ladder is that right now, I believe all of us who are there today attending the session, we must be at such a stage in our life where now we don't really totally believe and buy into what all my thoughts and feelings all the time keep telling me. So we slowly become unsure of our thoughts. That's the first step. So far, we have believed in our thoughts, we have believed in our expectations. Yes, this is what I want from that person and I must get it. But now, slowly, through our life experiences, what happens that through all these experiences, a kind of a ripening happens. And through that ripening, as if I become unsure of my thoughts, ideas, opinions, prejudices, likes, preferences. This is what is my demand. This is what I should get. All this I become, a bit unsure of. And if this has begun to happen in our lives, I think it's a very positive sign, because then only the first step can be embarked upon. If right now most of us are very sure of our feelings, thoughts, and what goes in our head, I don't know what help these sessions may give us. They may, but I don't know. So a kind of an understanding has to develop that yes, whatever I think, believe, feel, it is all a distorted version of truth. It is all a distorted version of truth. I can't cling to my opinions, ideas, likes, preferences. Now, when this happens, then we can begin to aspire and reject. That whenever something will be thrown at me, all the thoughts and bombarding of feelings and emotions and situations from outside, then because now I don't want to engage because I'm unsure of what I'm thinking and feeling, I will be able to reject. So the next step is rejection. Before that, I cannot reject because I have so much faith in my thoughts and feelings. So the second step in the process, and it can happen simultaneously, parallelly, it's not that one by one. Second step is now when I sit with myself, I can at command of my mind, I can make the mind still at least for some time. Because now I am not ready to listen to those bombardment of sense stimuli and thoughts and perceptions. That is usually my engagement. So I sit with myself and I try to focus on mother's name or the breath, try to calm down myself. But when thoughts and feelings and all the old guests, they visit me, I'm able to reject them. Why I am able to reject them? Because now I am unsure of them. So this is how I can reject now. Now, when we begin to reject, we begin to cultivate a sense of space in the being. because now you are not entertaining all the old guests who you were earlier occupied with. So the first step is being unsure of what all life and opinions and ideas, the engagement in the mind that I have lived, mind and vital both, and the preoccupation with the body. Second step is now developing and cultivating a space in the being, an empty space, a still space in the being, which may initially feel not very genuine because I'm not used to it. But slowly, as we get accustomed to it, we begin to love it. That empty space which gets developed when I am not entertaining the older guests. So at this point, we begin to develop a sense of space. We begin to develop a sense of stillness. Now, Mother says that the mind should be such a master of the being before we can go above the mind. The mind has to be such a master of the being that if it says hush, the vital keeps hush. If it tells the body to be quiet, the body also keeps quiet. If it tells the thoughts not to jump here and there, the thoughts become still. So before we can think about transformation, supramentalization, or going above and beyond the mind, at least we have to become the master of the mind, has to become the master of the being. That the mind said, okay, sitting with the mother's name for 10 minutes and nothing moves in the body, just sitting with the mother's name for 10 minutes. The vital listens, the body listens. The body is not saying, oh, I am tired. The vital doesn't say, oh, what is the point? And this takes time. This second step will take a lot of time. Depends upon how much I'm concentrated, how much is my intensity and the vigor in my sadhana. But this is an inevitable step. We have to all take this baby step at least, that the mind becomes the master of my vital, the surface vital, which keeps on jumping all the restless energy, and the body consciousness, which from time to time may throw all the resistances and inertia and tamas that may be there. So if the mind says still, the vital doesn't move, the body doesn't move. And as long as is required. If 10 minutes, yes, 10 minutes. 30 minutes, yes, 30 minutes, boss. So mind is the boss. Now I am a mental being. So before I become over mental or supramental being, I have to first claim the mental being. So at this point, I'll just read a few lines from Savitri, where it's on page number, for those of us who have it. I'll just put it in front so that everybody can see. Page 476. Here, where Savitri, now Satyavan is gone and she's like grieving and doesn't know what to do and too much in pain. And then suddenly she realizes that no, there is something else that I have to attend to. And there is a voice that is speaking to her. So we'll just go through these lines because they are very revelatory and each one of us have to travel this path. Then Savitri's heart fell mute. It spoke no word, but holding back her troubled rebel heart, abrupt, erect and strong, calm like a hill, surmounting the seas of mortal ignorance, it speak immutable above mind's air. A power within her answered the still voice. I am thy portion here charged with thy work, as thou myself seated far above, speak to my depths, O great and deathless voice. So something in the being is receptive, something knows that I have to know, something more than this troubled heart and grieving and rebelling that I have lost my loved one. So she becomes receptive. Speak to my depths, O great and deathless voice. Now she is not sure of her feelings and thoughts which she is having. So she is open, she is receptive and porous. Command, for I am here to do thy will. The voice replied, remember why thou camest. Find out thy soul, recover thy hid self. In silence, seek God's meaning in thy depths. Then, mortal nature change to the divine. In silence, seek God's meaning in thy depths. This cannot be done without touching that silence which awaits us, all of us, in our depths of our being. Open God's door, enter into his trance. Now, what are the steps that have to be taken? Cast thought from thee, that nimble ape of light. As long as I am engaged and engrossed in the thought mind, in the sense mind, I cannot ever think of touching that silence which awaits me. So cast thought away from the continuous rejection of that restless continuation of thought. Cast thought from thee, that nimble ape of light, in his tremendous hush, stilling thy brain. Again, brain has to be still. When it's commanded to be still, it's still. No movement in the brain. His vast truth, wake within and know and see. So this is how we see and know. We don't see and know through thought. We see and know when the thought is cast away from us. In the enormous emptiness of thy mind, so many hints and pointers for us. In the enormous emptiness of thy mind, thou shalt see the Eternal's body in the world. Know him in I think I missed a line. Cast from thee sense that veils thy spirit's sight. So all the sense stimuli, what did I hear today, what did I see today, all the interpretation of the mind on all the sense stimuli, that too has to be cast aside. What did I touch today? How did it, the mind interprets all the sense stimuli in its own manner. And that's what I believe in. So all that has to be left aside. All that has to be kept aside. And a lot of emptiness has to be created if I want to communicate to my depths, which are waiting. So this, I believe this gives a lot of, a very big pointer. Again, the whole Savitri is full of pointers, but this one for our own purpose right now today, that being immersed in the thought domain, being immersed in the feeling domain, trying to connect the thoughts, I can ever go on running like a hamster on the wheel and never truly connect with what truly I am made for, my true purpose in my life. So the second point that we were talking of, to develop, to cultivate a sense of stillness, emptiness and peace in the being, that can only happen when I continuously keep rejecting all that I have been believing in, all that comes to me from thought domain, from feeling domain, the interpretations of the mind. I can't be sure of them. So constantly rejecting and leaving a lot of space for the new consciousness to dawn in. Now, the third point is, where do we focus? For most of us, I think the focus, as we see and read in Mother's Yoga, is in the depths, horizontal depths of our heart. That's what we read again and again. That's the safest point and the easiest also, because it comes easy and naturally to most of us. And when we are saying this is me, we touch our heart. So we can go in the depths of our heart and make our attention there, remember Mother there, and attend to the attention there, concentrate, gather the consciousness there. The other focal point, which also is very natural in this yoga, is above the head. And if for a long time I have concentrated in the depths of my heart and it comes now naturally to me, I may naturally be inclined to focus above the head, station the consciousness above the head, or I may not be, I may just experiment with it. The idea is that if my consciousness is brain lodged, always acting from the thinking mind, the brain lodged mind, it's always going to be suffocating, and there would be no love, only attachment. Always poison, poison, spoiling my life, spoiling my relationships. But if now I am sure that I have suffered enough, pained myself enough, then you will be compelled to station the consciousness, not in the brain lodged thinking mind, but either in the depths of the heart, or stationing the consciousness a little above the head, like a few inches above the head. So from time to time, whenever we have empty pockets of time, or whenever we are running, walking, engaged in any activity, we bring our attention either to the depths of our heart, the center. Mother at times calls it solar plexus, but she's talking about the center of the chest, and go beyond and reach the inward of the spine, and in the depths, horizontal depths of the heart. There I can station, or I station it above the head. And mother says, as if like an open mirror, facing upwards. That's how you station. Like it's a mirror looking upwards, nothing doing, just a still mirror looking upwards. Still mirror looking upwards, still mirror looking upwards. You can do it with either closed eyes, opened eyes, doesn't matter, as long as it's like in a receptive form, you station your consciousness above. For some of us, it may not appear very natural, and it's completely fine. Maybe my time is not there, it may not resonate. But if to some of us it resonates, worth experimenting. So that's how I stabilize and station my consciousness away from the brain lodged thinking mind. Because as long as I operate from here, the sense stimuli, the interpretations of my mind, believe in them, no release and no love, only attachment, only attachment. These are the lower floors. In the lower floor, only chaos and attachment can be found. A drop of pure love may be there, of course, we all have that. But it's always a mixture which eats and spoils everything up. So if we want to purify our life, being and love, it's important to station the consciousness not in the brain, but above or in the depth of our heart, which is the right place. Now then, when we stay, and again, it's a long process, although we are talking like 2 minutes every step, but it's a long process. We may do a lot of pendulum-like movement also. At times, we may be very still, centered, empty, stationed. At times, we may be pulled down. And when we are pulled down, again, a lot of effort is required, either calling the mother, or again developing and choosing that emptiness over that chaos of thoughts and feelings. So constant choice, moment to moment choice has to be made. And now what we are doing is we are stabilizing ourselves on a different altitude. So when those of us who travel, when we go to a different altitude, like mountains, and we are not used to live in the mountains, we need first few days and hours of acclimatization. The body adapts to the thin air because the oxygen is less, the air is purer and thinner. We are not used to that. So now as we are stabilizing our consciousness either in the depths of our heart, which again is a different altitude, or above our mind, the body mind, we need to acclimatize. Acclimatization won't happen if all the time first I'm here for 2 seconds and then I'm again in the brain lodged mind. Then I am here and then I am again in the brain. This acclimatization won't happen. So if I have gone to mountains, I have to stay there in the mountains for some time. So that the body says, okay, now this guy is here. Now I would have to acclimatize. So the body begins to acclimatize. If we continue the pendulum-like movement, again and again listening to the brain lodged consciousness, forget about acclimatization, forget about transformation. Because the body doesn't feel the need to it, no? Body says, oh, this guy doesn't need it. Why? Because he's not living high up in the mountains, he's living here in the brain. So there is no need for transformation. What Aurobindo talks of that, the transformation is the last step. First, all these realizations and stabilizations, and then later on transformation of the body and the instruments. Because if I'm not stabilized at a higher altitude, purer altitude, thinner air, then why do I need to acclimatize? I don't live there. Very logical. So the 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, the fourth step would be to stabilize myself in the domains which are stationed in the purer domains, either above the head, in the depths of my heart, which is the place of the psychic. Then I have to keep rejecting all the movements, no matter how many glitter they may throw at me, how much of glitter and attraction they may throw at me. Through my own experiences, I know that they suffocate me. I have to be very sensitive to that suffering. And now I don't want to suffer. Really, I don't want to suffer. So you climb up like Ashwapati climbs up. We'll read a couple of lines from Savitri again. He climbs up and leaves the bad air of the brain lost consciousness, the suffocating consciousness. He climbs up. So one has to be sensitive to that suffocation, what James was pointing in the beginning. That when we live lodged in the ego consciousness, lodged in the brain consciousness, we suffocate. So to be very sensitive to my suffering and suffocation, that the moment something comes up in my life, I immediately enter the domain of thought and feelings, and it begins to as if bring a knot in my heart, to step back immediately and again station yourself with the mother above the head in the heart, depths of the heart. So to be very sensitive, to be kind to ourselves. And what we are doing is stabilizing throughout the day, 24/7, where we are sleeping or not sleeping, waking hours, running, or in the middle of all the work, I'm stabilizing myself at a different consciousness, a consciousness which is purer, which is my true birthright. Keeping itself very still, calm, stable there, poised, wanting nothing but enjoying that peace and silence that is now being provided. And then what happens is descent. So far we have been ascending. Descent has already happened. That's why the ascent has started. Some pressure from above must have already been there. Otherwise the ascent would not have been possible. So grace is already in operation. But now a tangible descent happens. When we keep stabilized our consciousness above the head, like an open mirror, or deep in the depths of our heart, a descent begins to happen, which is a very tangible descent. You can't say that you don't feel anything. It's a tangible descent. You feel the force and power coming into you. So I'm just again reiterating that I'm just putting all these points in one session, but it is a journey of our lifetime. I think all of us are aware. I am hoping. So not to rush through it, but as I became more stable, like a mirror, open, always open, empty, still, calm, always upwards, descent begins to happen. Now when descent begins to happen, I feel it in all the centers. And that is like a purifying force that opens up all the centers and begins the work of transformation. Now this work of transformation can stop midway also. It can take a pause midway, because I may change the station of consciousness again. That free will I always have, no? So I may experience some descent, something begins to change in me, but something happens in my life and I immediately find myself lodged in the brain ego consciousness again. So the work of transformation may stop for a while. That active work, through experiences I will still learn, but that active descent and feeling of it coming down, like a water coming down into your body, fluid coming down and changing your being, that may stop for some time, because now I am buying into my thoughts and feelings again. So that's why it is like a long and arduous journey, because it's not like one day I sit and then I sit for 3 months and then done, transformation complete. Because we keep on hovering around, we keep on wandering around. But if I'm convinced, then again I can stabilize myself, and then I can again become an open, reflective mirror, very still, immutable, calm. The whole being is still, ready, open to receive, not frustrated, not impatient, very happy to patiently wait forever if it may. So a space for new consciousness to dawn in, and a space for the transformation to happen so that the force can enter. And like this, I can be non-attached. Living in the ego consciousness, living in the brain lodged consciousness, I will forever be attached. So let's just go through a few words and few lines from Ashupati's yoga, and then we can take up any open for discussion. So for those of us who may have the book, I'm just going to read few lines. I'm not just taking the big bunches. 74, page 74, Canto 5, the yoga of the king, the yoga of the spirit's freedom and greatness. In the silent space where all is forever known, indifferent to doubt and to belief, he dared to live when breath and thought were still. Thus could he step into that magic place, which few can even glimpse with hurried glance. Page 76. A brighter, heavenlier sun must soon illume this dusk room with its dark internal stare. His height repelled the lowness of earth's state. Page 77. His height repelled the lowness of earth's state, a wideness discontented with its frame. This all is happening in our being. Because when we begin to develop a new taste in the being, we are repelled by the low taste. We don't want to engage in the entangling thoughts and emotions anymore. No, it is not my taste anymore. One becomes convinced. So his height, the station above, his height repelled the lowness of earth's state, a wideness discontented with its frame. And then again lower down, page 77, there is no perfect answer to our hopes. There are blind, voiceless doors that have no key. Thought climbs in vain and brings a borrowed light. Cheated by counterfeits sold to us in life's mart, our hearts clutch at a forfeited heavenly bliss. There are thrills of the flesh, but not of the soul's desire. Page 78. His soul retired from all that he had done. Hushed was the futile din of human toil. Forsaken wheeled the circle of the days. In distance sank the crowded tramp of life. Totally indifferent to that normal engagement that we usually think is so important for me to think about these things. So, in distance sank the crowded tramp of life. The silence was his sole companion left. Impassive, he lived immune from earthly hopes. So, all that people are so excited about didn't touch him at all. Impassive, he lived immune from earthly hopes. A call was on him from intangible heights. indifferent to the little outpost mind. So the mind, ripple of mind still continues to give us passive information, passive rumination of thought, that continues, but he is not engaging in it. So indifferent to the little outpost mind. He dwelt in the wideness of the Eternal's reign. His being now exceeded the thinkable space. His boundless thought was neighbor to cosmic sight. Now he talks about the descent. A golden influx flowed through heart and brain. A force came down into his mortal limbs. He felt the invasion and the nameless joy. So the whole process, is described, and even now, if I do not make the steps, then don't know what needs to be done. And it's not that I'm reading these lines for the first time. I'm not. I know. We all know Savitri. We have read Savitri. We keep reading Savitri, and maybe that's why we are here today. That at least we are open. That yes, something needs to still further open, and a change of really a radical change of consciousness needs to happen. So again, it goes on these pages 78, 79. Again and again he comes to silence and a retreat from mortal thought. Page 80. In a divine retreat from mortal thought, in a prodigious gesture of soul sight, his being towered into pathless heights, naked of its vesture of humanity. So all that we consider, oh, this is human, that is human, all that was left behind, and then he climbed up. A strong descent leaped down, a might aflame. So if we want to have a transformation in our life, if we are disgusted with our old self, all that space has to be created. The climbing up has to be there so that something knows that, oh, this guy wants something more. Not happy and content with the usual human life. But if we are happy and content, then we are happy and content. Then there is no point wanting to transform. If I'm happy with my attached love, then it's okay. But we all are not happy with our attached love. It brings us suffocation. It brings us misery. We feel that no, something is still amiss. So it's only when we fully give ourselves to the divine, we do what we are born to do. This is our birthright, Savitri, whatever is mentioned in Savitri. Then only can we have a love which is non-sticky in nature, because now I don't feel the need to complete myself through others. There is a completion which is granted to me, and more than that. And then this being gets shared with in our interactions, and more self-giving can happen now rather than wanting all the time. So I think maybe we can stop here today. I've said what all I wanted to share, nothing more. And if there are any questions and maybe comments and additions, please feel free to share.
Monica, I have a question. In day-to-day life, do you recommend that we keep our consciousness in the heart or above the head? Say one's at work. Where do we keep our consciousness to progress on the path?
So it keeps on fluctuating, and since there is in integral yoga, we see that Mother and Aurobindo say everybody has their own unfolding. So I may be invited from within. I may feel like a calling to chant Mother's name all the time, and that may be it for some time. Or I may be invited from within, again a call from within, that I'm invited that, okay, I have to place my attention on my breath, or maybe center of my heart. So there, for as much as the call is there. And then when we are invited to other locations, and from within only the invitation comes, or we may just resonate with something and we may think that, oh, I'm liking it. This feels okay, this feels right. So whatever feels right, whatever gives you fulfillment, because it will be a tangible fulfillment that you feel, when you either chant mother's name throughout the day inwardly, whenever you have empty pockets of time, or even in the middle of work, or center your attention on the breath, or in the depths of your heart, or maybe now experimenting with the above the head. I think it's totally natural, and it's one's own unfolding, and there is no one particular path that one can delineate. So whatever you are called to do, I think that is the thing where you should place your attention.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Yeah, anybody else? Anyone? You can please have additions. We can have additions. I just shared very little bit. So if somebody wants to add on anything, welcome. We can also make use of, there are many now, since all the YouTube revolution and all the media that we have available. So instead of the constant rumination of all the chattery thoughts and feelings, now that we don't want to believe in, we can keep that space filled. If it's hard to keep emptiness, we can keep that space filled with some chants, or maybe so many mantras given by Mother Sri Aurobindo, Om Namo Bhagavate, or Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi. So anything that resonates at whatever time, because it keeps on changing. Our mind is colorful entity. It wants different colors every time. So whatever resonates to uplift us, I think we must make use of that. At times reading may help. At times we may not want to read at all. We may just want to enjoy the stillness and peace. At times sessions may help. At times sessions, you may not want to engage in sessions. So one has to continuously be very attentive to the call within. And if there is a feeling that, no, I want to give myself more solitude and I want to engage in active concentration within, so whatever is the call, I think we must attend to that, because that's how the being evolves. So, and it would be different for everyone in different phase of our life. So to honor that guidance that we are getting from within. And if there is anything more interesting than all this, I think we must then go behind that. So we must, many a times we think that, oh, this is what I must do. This is what mother said, so I must do this. So then we are we are entangled in two boats, as if one leg here and one leg here, and the pant is getting torn in between. So we must not do that, I feel, because if I am intensely called towards some path which may not be what mother said, I must go and explore that path. If there is anything more interesting than reading Mother's and Sri Aurobindo's words and traveling on the path of conscious integral yoga, I must do that. And if this has become so interesting, then I must attend to that. So that's why Mother says even passions are preferable than dull inertia. So whatever I want to give my heart to, I must do that, because that is my experience through which I learn and through which I evolve further. So not saying to myself that, oh, mother said that to become desireless, I must, keep away from the desire, although you are brimming full of desire. So if one is brimming full of desire, go, get done with it. Then you will have an experience that will tell you. So otherwise we can't have stillness in our being if we have not ran enough. So it's very important to run enough, so that through my experiences and convictions, I am now convinced that, no, if there is the last day that I'm spending on earth, this is where I want to be. I want to station myself in my consciousness wherever feels right. So it must be a convinced choice. Then it has a certitude, it has a confidence. So although, I don't know how much I have talked about purifying love, but when I gave the topic, it was something different. But I realized that I've already touched upon purifying love a couple of times, and uh, we have heard, attachment to love earlier. NAMAH had sessions, attachment to love. So again, this is an indirect way of talking about it, but this is also purifying love, because the more we travel our path and unite ourselves with our true consciousness, the more non-sticky we become, and the more love is there and less of attachment. We can step back from attached spaces. Yeah, spoken too much, sorry for that. Yeah, please, if anyone wants to share anything, we have some time, about 7-8 minutes, so please.
Hi, Monica. Yeah, I just want to thank you for a wonderful session. After a long time, I felt your voice felt like coming from the heart, and thank you for taking me into that space of your being. So, thank you.
Thank you. Glad to hear. Okay, so if not anything, let's maybe concentrate before we end. So I'm just going to play something and we'll just concentrate wherever we are uh, feeling compelled, in the depths of our heart, with mother's name, or above the head, wherever you feel like concentrating. So I'm just going to play an audio and we'll just listen to it and concentrate.
तत्सवितुर्वरं रूपं ज्योतिः परस्य धीमहि यन्नः सत्येन दीपयेत् तत्सवितुर्वरं रूपं ज्योतिः परस्य धीमहि यन्नः सत्येन दीपयेत् तत्सवितुर्वरं रूपं ज्योतिः परस्य धीमहि यन्नः सत्येन दीपयेत् ॐ आनन्दमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे ॐ आनन्दमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे Open my mind, my heart, my life to your light, your love, your power in all things. May I see the divine. Open my mind, my heart, my life to your light, your love, your power in all things. May I see the divine. Shri Aurobindo Sharanam Mama. Shri Aurobindo Sharanam Mama. Shri Aurobindo Sharanam
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Monica. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating.
James.
And until tomorrow. Monica, thank you. Beautiful session, as always.